What's going on YouTube? This is Jim Afanis, aka Viper Magic, and today I want to talk to you guys and show you guys some Arthas gameplay from Heroes of the Storm. Now, Arthas has been one of my favorite characters in the World of Warcraft lore. The story of a guy who basically puts his kingdom before himself, goes off, finds this magical weapon which turns out to be haunted, and turns into the thing he hates. It's very, very interesting, and Arthas is by far one of the most recognizable characters inside the Blizzard universe, and I really like him a lot. Whether he was just regular old Arthas, the Paladin, or obviously his more noted transformation into the dreaded Lich King. So Arthas is actually the first character that I actually bought with real money on Heroes of the Storm. Every week they will always sell a hero for half off, and I bought Arthas for about $5 way back in it may have been the alpha or the beta. You know, I'm not entirely sure, but I've had this guy for quite some time. Clearly I haven't gotten him quite yet to level 10, but he's definitely the next one I'm going to be working on. He will make the fourth 10 that I have. Anyways, what does Arthas do in Heroes of the Storm? Well, you guys are no stranger to what Arthas is all about. He is a tank. And he gets up front and nasty, and he's undergone a lot of changes through the different phases of Heroes of the Storm, depending on what phase of the game we were in. As you know, Blizzard is no stranger to nerfing or buffing characters at liberty in the sake of quote-unquote game balancing. And I laugh at that because some of my favorite characters are now my least favorite, and some of my most beloved characters at launch are hated, and the other way around. I mean, so right now Arthas is in a very interesting state. He's definitely the most aggressive, offensive-minded tank, in my opinion. Now, he does a significant amount of burst damage for a tank, primarily due to his Frostmourne Hunger's talent. However, he is extremely mana dependent, and you will see throughout this video, and I won't talk through the entire thing, but just for a little bit at least, you will see that there are many times I have to disengage when I really don't want to, and it's not always because of my health, but it's because my mana runs out. Additionally, Arthas lacks any real closer or fleeing or any kind of movement other than just his walking. Now, he does have his ability, which you will see me use quite often, where he can freeze the ground, and that will actually slow an enemy down. And that's actually kind of nice because that is sort of an opener, but other than that, any kind of charge or anything, he doesn't really have. So his quick abilities, I'll run down them briefly, and I'll talk a little bit about the build that I find that works best for Arthas, at least the two most common ones that I primarily use. And we did really good in this game. There were a few mistakes that I made, and I'll talk about Arthas's weaknesses and my particular weaknesses. This is by no means a perfect playthrough. So first and foremost, Arthas's trait is Frostmourne Hungers, and that is a 100% increased damage and 30 mana restore on your next basic attack. So you can proc it whenever you want, and until you attack, it just sits there and waits. And that's actually really, that's like his go-to attack. And a lot of his build can be built around that. His three abilities you'll see me use quite often are Death Coil, which is basically just a straight cast shot, and eventually it can be modded such that it restores a little bit of health. Howling Blast is a spell I was talking about a minute ago, where it'll actually root enemy for 1.5 seconds, and it deals a small amount of damage. And Frozen Tempest, which is the cold aura. It also reduces enemy movement speed and can stack as well. His two ultimates you can select from either Army of the Dead, which raises these ghouls that fight for you. You can also sacrifice the ghouls whenever you want to absorb some health. Or Syndragosa, which is giant dragon, comes flying down from the screen and blasts a huge area of effect for some damage, and also disables minions for 10 seconds, structures for 20 seconds, and just overall is a great slowdown blast of ice. So the build that I like to use with Arthas primarily focuses around Frostmourne Hungers. And the thing with Frostmourne Hungers is you really have to be careful. You have to really be careful because you don't want to overexpose yourself, and since it is a melee attack and there is no range to it, you have to be careful when you're using it. It is very easy to get caught in this mode of Arthas where you just start running and trying to chase people down. And I think that might happen in this engagement here. You'll see again that other than my Death Coil attack, Arthas does not have any way to close in. Now I can shoot my Howling Blast initially, which will slow them down for a second, and I can walk in. But short of that, if an enemy is just a little bit out of my reach, there's nothing I can do about it. Now, that makes enemies like Gazlo and particularly Sylvanas are really, really frustrating because there's nothing you can do. Now, if you can hit your Howling Blast there, you could see I missed it. She ends up dies anyway. Had I not done that, she could have just walked in front of me indefinitely and done pretty much a turnaround stutter step and just blasted me. Vala can vault out of the way. Muradin can run away. So Arthas is one of those guys that you have to really be careful when you use his attack and understand that it may be the only close shot you get, so you better make it count. So for that reason, I could see where people might lean against using Frostmourne Hungers as kind of your primary attack, because depending on if there's a lot of ranged attackers, you're not going to have a very good game. But again, I like to use that style. I don't mind walking in and taking a blast. Usually I find in these big team fights, people will get cocky. And when they're up close with Arthas, they're going to pay the price. Especially because when you have Frozen Tempest going, you're constantly slowing down their movement speed, so they really can't get away. You're constantly doing some damage. A Death Coil followed up immediately by a Frostmourne Hungers attack is really powerful, especially if you spec it. So most of my abilities you will see do spec towards that. However, one thing to mention is that if you don't have a healer in your game, in this particular game we did not have a healer. We actually had 2 tanks, which was kind of odd. And that makes me wonder what's going on with Blizzard's matchmaking, because it's been very suspect lately. I've been in games with 2 or 3 support at times. This game obviously has 2 tanks, and I understand. I mean, we made it work. We actually did win this game, and it was pretty close, actually. Very odd game towards the end. It's very weird how it all played out, but typically you don't expect to see 2 tanks. Now, I guess you could argue that maybe Muradin is a little less tanky than others, and he's more of kind of offense plus. I mean, you see our Muradin is very, very aggressive throughout the game and actually serves us very well. He's able to hunt down a lot of people. But anyways, but what my point was is that without a healer, a dedicated healer in your squad, Arthas does possess a few abilities that when spec correctly, you can give up some of that offense for some sustainment. And actually, my level 16 ability, I really wanted to take the ability that allows my Frostmourne to attack twice instead of just once. But because I was getting beat up so bad, I actually went for a Death Coil that gives me a little bit more healing. You could argue either way. You know, if they're dead, they obviously can't hit you. But at the same time, there were a couple instances where I skirted away with just a small amount of life, and I really do thank Death Coil for that. So that's something to keep in mind. As you can see here, Arthas without mana is completely useless. I'm waiting for that well to hit so I could get back into the action, but a no mana Arthas is worthless. And that's definitely something to keep in mind when you're playing against other people with Arthas, especially just getting a small amount of mana. As you saw there, that was pretty stupid what I did. I shouldn't have engaged. As soon as you hit, you have a small amount of mana, and as soon as you hit your Frozen Tempest, it initially takes some mana, and then it just starts draining 15 mana a second. Had I not died there, that Frozen Tempest probably would have stayed up maybe another 3 or 4 seconds, which really wouldn't made much of a difference. They clearly rolled over that fort. Engaging on the 3-1 is just a really dumb idea. And that is kind of the theme of this game, and the kind of the theme of all tanks, but particularly of Arthas. You have to make sure that when you engage, you're going to finish the fight, because when you're in the fray, you're not coming back out. Now, here's a perfect example of me running down somebody. I can't do anything about it. And you could see how much health that I lost by Sylvanas just running away from me, just blasting me with their arrows. And there's really not a whole lot I can do about it. Arthas is great as a presence, just kind of standing there. And what I mean by that is because he's so aggressive up front, a lot of times enemies will fall back if it looks like you're just kind of standing there waiting, because coming to face Arthas one-on-one with most characters does not end well. Here you can see Arthas completely being hung out to dry and just gets slaughtered. You have to really be careful with Arthas. Again, I keep going back to his mana, but you'll see me keep turning on and off Frozen Tempest over and over because, again, when I don't have a lot of mana, like here, I'm really, really low on mana. All I have is my auto attack and Frostmourne Hungers, which is great when I can get close to use it. And when I do get close, you could see how much damage it does. Outside of that, though, it's kind of rough. And you're just kind of taking a beating. So here, because we were trying to get some more skulls and get an early advantage on lane presence with a decent golem, I elected not to hearth back. I saw that they had a couple people dead at this point, but clearly I'm not going to engage the boss on my own. I'm going to let Muradin do the heavy lifting here, and I'm going to try to support when I can. But without mana, and as you can see, everything is completely on cooldown, I could probably pull off of some aura there for a little bit of burst damage, which I try my best. But for the most part, there's really not a whole lot I can do. And especially when Muradin goes away to engage, I have to run away. And I think I get smoked here by Illidan. Yep. So, but, I mean, you can see the kind of damage that I put on him before I die. So, Arthas is definitely, again, one of the more aggressive tanks. I think Sonya's probably the only other one if she has using her her stomp build, where she's really bursty. I'm trying to think of the rest of the tanks. You have Stitches, not really. Muradin, not really. Johanna, not really. Yeah, I'd have to say I believe that Arthas is the most burst damage, especially with a really procced out Frostmourne Hunger. So he's a really fun character to play overall. I think the big thing to keep in mind with him is you need to have, I wouldn't say a dedicated healer is a must, but it really does help. He works really well with Malfurion, especially when Malf can give him the D, give him back a little bit of the mana, Innervate, because then at least you can stay in the fight a little bit longer. But you could see here me soloing or trying to solo a camp. Obviously I get smoked again. You could see me trying to solo a camp, how much mana I burn. Now I do take him down pretty quick, and for a tank class, that's a pretty fast clear time of trying to take out that camp. You know, obviously, more of the assassins or specialists are definitely more suited in that. But for a tank to be able to do that kind of damage is awesome. But you see how much mana you blow so quickly trying to achieve your goal there. Anything else I want to mention about Arthas before I shut up and let you guys watch the end of this? Oh, I want to talk briefly about his special, his ultimate, his level 10. So in a game like this, a 2-lane map like the one we're playing now, I really felt that a Sindragosa wasn't that useful. If you find yourself as Arthas and you're really laning a lot, obviously Sindragosa is great, but if you're playing Arthas to lane, that's really more of a Skeleton King type ability, because Skeleton King is, in my opinion, one of the best laning tanks, especially with this big arcing attack that can hit pretty much everything at once. If you're really kind of relying on that kind of gameplay, and again, I don't know why you would be. I think Arthas is best served elsewhere. Then Sindragosa definitely makes sense. Or if your team is just pushing the lane in general and you're part of that. I would never recommend soloing anything with Arthas. You will see every time I die exactly why, and the stupidity that I do on my own self. Because I just get a little too aggressive and a little too cocky. And here, I have no idea why I keep turning around. I think I'm trying to help out Mura, but there's really no point. Again, with no mana and obviously no health, no help to anyone. So keep that in mind with Sindragosa. On games that have 3 lanes, I think you're a lot better off using it. But on just as regular, PvP heavy maps, I highly recommend Army of the Dead. Especially when you don't have a healer, because you can eat your own golems and get some health back very quickly. And you can almost completely fill up your tank. Especially if you perk it at 20 and you get the ability to get even more ghouls, then totally you can. Which is really, really nice. And again, because Arthas doesn't have much of a closer, the more you can be out in the fray, if you can get an extra health bar and keep your aura up just a little bit longer, maybe hit just one more Frostmourne Hungers, because it's so powerful, that really does make the difference in a lot of these engagements. And you will see a lot of times where I have no business staying alive, but because I popped my Army of the Dead and I sapped a little bit of golems, I was able to stay alive a little bit longer and perform a little bit better. So when you get these squishy characters like this one-on-one, because Frostmourne Hungers does so much damage, it's great. But there you can see, Arthas just walks away, and I mean, luckily we're able to burn him down. But a lot of times you'll just be walking behind people, just waiting, hoping that somebody can intercept so you can come in and finish him off. But as far as a pursuer hero, Arthas is not that. Anyways, I'm gonna let you guys watch the rest of this. I'm gonna shut up now. We did really good overall. We won. It was a weird game at the end. We were kind of debating internally. Well, I was debating internally. I didn't really talk much with the team. It's randoms. I guess that's kind of the joy of randoms. You just don't know what's going to happen. Whether or not we wanted to try to go for the golem or push towards the end. It turned into a little bit of a base race at the end. But you'll check it out, see how it went. Let me know what you guys think about my gameplay. Let me know what you guys think about Arthas and Heroes of the Storm as a whole. I do believe we will be getting a Rexar tomorrow, which is Tuesday. I'm really eager to try him out. He's another one of my he's one of my favorite characters in the World of Warcraft universe. He's a very important character in the old Orc days. Anyways, as always, I want to thank you guys for watching. Please do me a favor, comment, rate, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think about Arthas, the Lich King. And until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.
Enemy slain. Very impressive. Return. Yours is far more powerful. The golems have been defeated. Enter, heroes.
You shall suffer. All is mine.
more skulls than that if you wish a stronger final. Keep lost.
Feel the hatred of 10,000 years!
Hurry, the enemy is attacking your core.
This will
More bones for the mines. And so the bone golems fall. Dust to dust. Your core is under attack, heroes.
assist our ally. Indeed. Your rage.
Looks like you can use some muscle.
Couldn't have done better myself.
So be it.
Missing dead shadows. Shortening. More bones for the mines.
Soul is mine. At long last.
You hear that? I believe they're hungry. Your enemies fall before you.
Shall suffer. Hungers. Feed me your rage.
The enemy's attack. Enemy slain.
Brother. Your end has come.
Killing spree.
Long last. Feel the hatred of 10,000 years.
Killing spree has ended. Well done.
As expected.
destroying the enemy's core.
Feed your rage.
Rise again, my golems, and unleash your boundless anger.
All shall suffer.
Fast this hero's head! Fast this hero's head!
Your core. Your goblin is weaker than your foes. Prepare your defense. The enemy is attacking your core. This is where goblins return to the earth. For now, a hero has abandoned the battle.
So be
A hero has rejoined the battle.
hatred of 10,000
Double kill.
Someone's been practicing.
torment awaits. Justice of the grave.
Death stirs within the mines. Shall you brave the darkness?
We should capture this
Listen,
mercenary camp!
heroes. The undead shall rise. You have been slain. Well done.
That's easy.
Your core is under attack, heroes.
Finally,
Deadly slain.
Someone's been practicing.
your efforts are futile.
We should capture this mercenary camp!